right, so Chad, thank you so much for joining today, for coming on the podcast. Where
No
where are you
problem.
joining us from today?
Peterborough, Ontario.
Okay, small
Yep.
town.
Yeah, well, I'm just outside of Peterborough in a little town called Hastings, but if I say Hastings, people are like, "Oh, where's that?" So I generally try to find the most larger populated area and just say Peterborough, and then people are like, "Oh, I know Peterborough." So,
Right. So before we kind of jump into it, just a little bit of background about you. I saw that you got started like really young in construction,
yes.
redesigning house plans like while you were a kid even. So what sparked that passion like in the beginning for building?
Well, my father, it dates back to when I was like 6 years old-ish. Um, I grew up in Moulton, Mississauga, Ontario. Moulton was like a little suburb of inside Mississauga. And my father and I used to go around to, new home subdivisions and look at model homes, and we used to go into the sales center, and he would always collect brochures, and the sales agents would always be like, "Oh, help yourself," right? And I was fascinated by looking at, pictures of new homes, and you'd open it and there'd be floor plans in there. So I'd go home and whether I was playing with my toys or whatever, then all of a sudden, once we started doing this, I had all these brochures and these plans, and I started tracing out the floor plans, and I would erase all the interior walls, and then I would start making my own rooms and my own walls and kind of reconfigure everything. And this became just a natural obsession for me that later evolved into, wanting to learn more about construction. I would ask my father, "Can I have some tools? Can I have some wood? Can I start building stuff?" Right? So he would naturally let me do these things. And as it progressed in going into high school, I entered doing drafting for 3 years, learning everything about architecture and drawing plans and designing of homes back before the computer days, where it's much easier to do now. But back then, it was all pencil and paper and very heavy math skills. And also during my high school years, I took construction co-op. So we did half days in class, half days on job sites, and you got to learn hands-on how homes were built from the ground up. And it was a very enlightening and enriching experience that helped fuel me to where I am today.
Nice. No, that's I think you got a head start from most people in terms of experience having started
Yeah,
that young.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So yeah,
oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, sometimes I jokingly say, "Oh yeah, I've been building homes since, or building and designing homes since I was 6 years old," and some people would be like, "How?" It's like,
Yeah.
and then I go and tell that story, and they're like, "Oh wow, you've like naturally really been into this," and rightfully so. I have. Like, this is in my blood. It's in my DNA. It's what I think about day in, day out, and I think what separates me from the majority of all the builders out there is that this is personal for me. I build every single home I do as if it was my own, right? I want to give customers the best experience they can possibly get. And through that experience, I provide honesty and transparency, and I'm not just there to build a house, I'm there to build a relationship. And sometimes I even have to tell them things they don't want to hear and they don't like it. But at the end of the day, they realize I've always had their best interests at heart. And that's what I focus on, is the quality of the craftsmanship as well as the experience for the customer, because we're building a relationship for them.
Nice. No, I mean that's what every homeowner desires, right? So you're
Mhm.
definitely providing that value. It's so important. So just for context for listeners, so this is
Sure.
Behind the Build podcast. It's all about sharing real insights from leaders across the construction space. So whether that's custom home builders or GCs or just innovators in the space, and the challenges that they're facing, obviously, just to give perspective and get stories out there that is always interesting for anybody in the construction world.
Hmm.
So I'd like to get into your most recent endeavors, the two companies that you started. We talked a
Yes.
little bit about this last time. It was kind of
Hmm.
as a result of, I don't know what you'd call it, a happy accident or a blessing in disguise. But
Yeah.
so could you tell us a little bit about your journey that led you to founding Construction X and Steel Structure Homes? And just, I'm not sure if we mentioned your name, but you're Chad B. Bryant, right? Is that how you?
Yes. Yes. So there's quite a few Chad Brions out there, believe it or
Okay.
not. And if you're familiar, there's Michael Jordan, the basketball player, and then there's Michael B. Jordan, the actor. So to differentiate myself from the other Chad Brions out there, I just basically picked up Chad B. Brion, and that's kind of what I'm
Mhm.
known for. So yeah, so basically I'll kind of, pick off where I left off with the high school stuff quickly and kind of go through my career experience. So after I got out of high school, I jumped into the industry and started working in landscaping, doing hardscaping, landscape construction, building pergolas, waterfalls, ponds, retaining walls, all that kind of stuff. You learn a lot through that, and from there, I evolved into doing about 4 or 5 years of commercial construction, building different types of commercial buildings, going into high-rise buildings in Toronto, doing partition walls, divider walls, all that kind of stuff, even doing rooftop insulation on top of skyscrapers, boilers, you name it, we were doing it. And then I evolved into residential framing, and beyond that, got into doing demolition and excavation for about 6 years. And from there, I went on to my own for 8 years with a company I had doing demolition and excavation. And during that time, I was now involved with working with customers. And a lot of the times I was getting calls from customers saying, "Oh, I want to do this renovation. I want to do this addition. And, I want you to knock off this wall and build a thing out." And I'm like, "Great. Where's your permits? Where's your drawings?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know. I didn't know I need that." I'm like, "Well, you do." And so I was like, "Okay, I will help you through this and we will get to that point and then I will do the addition for you." They're like, "Sure, no problem." And that naturally evolved for me to get into doing project management through renovations and additions and stuff. And from that point, I started getting into custom home building, working with custom home builders. And the there was a couple before the main one I worked with, but the main one I worked with was RWH Construction in Felham Falls. And they are an extremely good company. I owe probably where I am right now to them, hands down. Amazing guys. I miss them a lot. I spent 5 years there, I think, and it changed my life. I remember starting there, and they were like, "Okay, you're going to be our project manager," and we build roughly, I think they were saying like 19 homes a year, multi-million dollar custom homes. And they're like, "What we have is a project for you up in Huntsville, and it is a steel framed home." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure." And I had never heard of a steel framed home, but I was like, how hard could it be, right? So I go up to the site, clear the lot, survey it out. We're like, "Oh, we have to blast the property." So we blasted the property, spread everything out, got everything ready. All of a sudden, 5 semi trucks roll up and there's all this steel on it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, "Uh-oh, what is this?" I call them up. I'm like, I think I'm way over my head. That this is wild. Like, I'm used to stick frame, and I was thinking we were dealing with like commercial steel, and this is, very, very different. And the steel was made by a company called Bone Structure. They're the first major company, I think, in the world who actually designed, manufactured, and sold their own steel kit homes, and 100% steel. It's 11 gauge galvanized steel with a lot of HSS steel columns that were built into the structure. And so basically, once this kit was on site and my crew came in, we opened up the assembly plans. It's like, well, fake it till you make it. Let's figure this out, right? And from that point, I fell in love. It just so naturally came to me. And once the structure goes up, it was a feeling I had never felt before. Like it was, it's hard to put into words, but it's like, wow, I created this. Look at this. And I started learning about the culture of bone structure, how Bone Structure was providing kit homes for customers across Canada and North America, and I believe they even had some in Europe, and I think there was one in Hawaii too. And I had learned that, like, especially in Ontario, a lot of the customers who had purchased bone structures would show up to other homes that were being built as a group or just as individuals to kind of see it. And they had their own little Facebook group and they all got together for dinners. It was quite a little cult community, so to speak. And I found that very fascinating because I'd never heard that before. But no matter what, they were always ambassadors to the brand. They were like bone structure this, bone structure that. They'd walk around with bone structure swag. And that amazed me. And I felt like I was part of a movement, like I was part of something bigger. And my character as a person, I always strive to be the best. Even in school, I had to be the loudmouth. I was always the little guy, but even amongst guys who are bigger, taller, stronger, I always had to be the one that stood out. So for me in my career, I didn't want to just be another guy building stick frame homes, right? But I didn't know where else to go or what else to do other than to just be the best. So when steel came around, I felt like I finally had a purpose, like I found my belonging. And from there, we just, constantly evolved, and I kept doing bone structure after bone structure after bone structure every single year. And then after my 5 or 6 years at RWH, I decided to go on my own and go to other builders who across Ontario who were also building bone structure homes or were new to it. So I had approached Mark Beauvais, who was the founder of Bone Structure, and I said to him, I said, listen, I'm on board with this. I love your product. I love everything about it. And I've been building these things for years. I know them inside out. I want to help you guys train new builders on how to assemble these because I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you're handing off a 7,000 square foot kit to a guy who has never built these before and simply have somebody from your company show up and say, okay, well, here are the plans, this is how you read them, there you go, have a nice day, bye, good luck. Right? It doesn't make sense. So it's like I would go into business for myself. I will provide my services to you and the other builders, and I will stay with them for weeks or months or even the entire project to ensure that your product is being assembled properly, they're being trained properly, and that your brand is being protected. And he was totally on board with that, and that's how things kind of led for a few years up until December of 2023, when unfortunately we got the word that Bone Structure was closing their doors, which was what's the word? It was very dis it hurt a lot. Like it was very, I think the word is disheartening or something. I can't remember.
Disheartening.
Disheartening, yes. Because I had built this whole world and this vision in my head of like, we're gonna go this far and I'm gonna help them and I'm gonna go get my builder's license and then I'm gonna start building these.
Were you working for them at this point?
As an independent contractor, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I would go, like I said, to other builders. There was one builder in Prince Edward County in Belleville, Ontario. I went to work with them to build a couple homes for them and train their guys on how to do it. Then I came up to Lakefield, Ontario, to work with another builder or actually, sorry, they're located in Lakefield, but the house I trained their guys on was in Fenelon Falls, which turned out to be the very last bone structure ever to be built in Canada, which we just finished in January of this year.
Wow.
So, yeah, the unfortunate thing was that Bone Structure did close their doors in 2023 of December 2023. And from that point on, I had to figure out what am I going to do with myself now. I thought I had a place. I thought, here's my roadmap moving forward, and now everything's good to go. But now it's not. So me and some of the employees who were there were trying to find investors to buy Bone Structure, but then we found that it would be very more complicated than just doing that. So then some of them left, and then there was only a couple of us left. And I was like, okay, I have enough experience with building these. I understand the engineering, I understand the architecture. The three of us could easily work together to do this. And we started looking into it. But of course, these things don't happen overnight, and people need to make money, people need to feed their families. And so they were like, we can't do this. We're sorry, we're gone. So now I was left by myself. And call it nostalgic, but I didn't want to let go. I was like, I know I got to make money. I know I got to keep paying my bills, but I believe in this so much that I'm willing to get rid of everything I own to become a minimalist and put every dollar I make from here on out into this. And that's exactly what I've done. So for the past year, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds and hundreds of hours of my time, of my money, developing this. I've been working with my engineers on, coming up with different models and testing different load capacities, developing different types of ways we can build this. And we have come up with multiple conceptual models. And what's going to separate me from, or I should say, steel structure homes from bone structure is that this model is extremely versatile. Bone structure was very pigeonholed to luxury homes. They had an 11 gauge steel kit, which was phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. There was obviously room for improvement in the efficiency of how they were built, how they were manufactured, but the cost per square foot was astronomical. And if anyone had approached them and said, I want a 2,000 square foot bungalow built out of steel, they could probably do it, but they'd be paying double the amount they would than a stick frame. So my my goal in this was to bring that price point down, but then also develop models of hybrid models. So what we have done is taken that conceptual model and reduced the amount of steel that they used by 30%. And we've changed the order of how the structure comes together to almost speed up the efficiency of how the structure is built by almost 30%. And with that, we've also got hybrid models too. So if somebody, came to us again with like a 2,000 square foot bungalow or a 2,500 and said, but I only have like $450,000, we can do it, but it may not be with 100% steel. We may have to go half wood, half steel, or half steel, half ICF. But we've now developed those options where we can literally cover the entire spectrum using steel or other materials to build these homes for people, which makes it more available. And so basically, every home is literally going to be engineered to itself. It's just not like you're going into a catalog and saying, oh, I like this one, I want that gauge. Where you go. It's all based off budget, and we work down from there.
Mhm. Nice. So generally, is it steel to the roof, or would it just be the first floor?
Uh, it could be steel right to the roof, yeah. So generally, every foundation is an ICF foundation.
Hmm.
That's obviously engineered, and then based off if it was 100% steel home. Once the process, how the process goes is whether somebody comes to us with architectural plans or we provide them with an architect, the house gets designed. Then we take those architectural drawings and we hand them off to our engineers. And once the engineers get a hold of them, they put them into the CAD system and convert them to a 2D model where we take our steel parts catalog and kind of uh, construct the steel home into what we would need. And we would have a breakdown of how long the studs will be, how many anchor bolts we need, how many floor joists, how many trusses, etc. And once that is all said and done, we will then convert it to a BIM model, which we use for our assembly, because we don't only have an assembly guide that we give either to ourselves or other builders where they can go through and see step by step how to assemble these homes. But then we also have a BIM model where you can go into Autodesk 360 and be able to 3D yourself through the entire house to narrow yourself down to a single screw to find out where that's placed and or a part number. And once that's all said and done, we send it to manufacturing. It gets manufactured, everything's cut to size, and then shipped to the job site where it could then be assembled.
Hmm. So does that where your job ends, or are you guys actually finishing the project with your team?
Because I'm a licensed builder in Ontario, till we're overwhelmed and can't do anymore, we are going to build our kits here in Ontario. If we ship any kits to Quebec or British Columbia or even the United States, we will then have to work with builders in the local areas there who can
Mhm.
then assemble them for us, which we will then provide them with very premium training on how to do this. And we also assign every project a project manager who oversees the build from the beginning to the end to ensure that not only our brand and our product are being serviced well, but also that the builder knows in confidence that we have their back, that we are going to set them up for success, because we don't want anyone to have a bad experience, whether it's our trades or our builders or our customers. And I think that's where Bone Structure kind of failed in their operations, were that it was very transactional. Like once somebody bought a kit, they would hand them over to their preferred builder, and you kind of never heard from them again. And many customers we had over the years with Bone Structure, a lot of the clients said that you wouldn't, and if anything ever went wrong with those homes, you would never say, oh, so and so builder, built our home and did a bad job. They would say, oh, we have a Bone Structure home and we had a bad experience, right? So it's all about that brand. And for us, we want to ensure that we protect our brand, because branding is everything, customer service is everything. And I learned so much from Bone Structure, and I am grateful for the 10 years I built their product. And I wish they were still around because we had a good thing going, but unfortunately, life happens. And, we are the continuation of that legacy.
Mhm. So has it been hard to educate homeowners about the benefits of steel? Obviously, we live in Canada. I mean, most houses are stick frame. We're the
Yep.
laughing stock of Europe because of that. They
Yeah.
still can't understand how on earth can we build like the way we do. Obviously,
Yeah.
steel is a, as you said last time, your last call, is a kind of a love affair for you. You're
Hmm.
passionate about it.
I
But
wear
do
my
you,
branding all the time.
but do you see it actually becoming the future of home building?
That's a good question. I was thinking about this today, on my way back from the dealership when I had to go get my summer tires put on. And I came up with the analogy that I think is very fitting for this question. And that is that wood has been the primary material for building homes for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And I don't think wood is ever going to go away completely. But what I feel is there are going to be more players in the market. There's going to be more materials in the market. And that pie is going to be split up into multiple pieces. Much like in the automotive industry, there's this push to get rid of petroleum vehicles, gas vehicles. And, everyone thinks or presumes that EVs are going to take over the world. I don't think EVs are going to take over the world. I think that gasoline cars are never going to have 100% dominance over the industry again. They could drop down to 25. EVs maybe 25. Hydrogen maybe 25. Hybrids maybe 25. There's your 100%. So I feel that in the home building industry, that's how we're going to see things evolve, is that wood may be 25, steel may be 25, um, maybe like SIP homes might be 25, or modular homes might be 25. And then that would be kind of like your selection. And I think in the reality of it, it makes more sense because I'm not an environmentalist or an activist, but I do believe we all need to do our part in building better, living better, and taking better care of our planet. And I think the cause that kind of resonates with me the most is that trees are our lifeline. They are the air filters of our planet. The more trees we take down, the less carbon dioxide and monoxide they're going to absorb, and the less oxygen that's going to be pumped into the air. And so, if we can reduce our consumption of trees and leave more trees in the forests and use all these other materials to build the homes that we need, like especially in Ontario, we have or in Canada here, we have an election right now where they're saying, we need to build 500,000 homes in Ontario alone over the next 5 years. That's a lot of wood. And one of the new things that's becoming this one blows my mind. Um, one of the new things they're doing in high-rise construction is building with mass timbers. I don't understand how we're going backwards. You know what I mean? It's like steel is like steel is it's resourceful, it's dependable, it's better for the environment in many degrees. I don't understand how, and I've heard people say that using mass timbers in high-rise building is more energy efficient. It's better for the environment because, let's say for like a natural size, I don't know, 20-inch tree, you're probably pulling a dozen 2x6s out of it through milling. But with mass timbers, that one single tree is one mass timber. So in order to do these mass timber buildings, you have to be cutting more older, bigger forests down to accommodate that size of building. So I don't understand why we're going backwards and taking more. So that one really bugs me. So building with steel is my contribution to our industry and our planet to build better. and to take better care of our environment. And that's what's important to me.
Hmm. So I saw you mention once you were talking about building with common sense overkill. So obviously you're
Yes.
going way beyond the code with the way that you build.
Yes.
So why is that such a big deal for you? I mean, are you thinking of the long term, like the longevity of these projects? Because in Europe, that's a big thing, right? They're handing
Yes.
down for generations these homes.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
what are some of the big factors for you?
Good question again. Again, I was actually premeditating this question. So why it's important to me. I grew up watching Mike Holmes on TV. Holmes Makes It Right. All his TV shows that were on HGTV. And one of his apprentices and managers during that show was a guy named Damon Bennett, who I'm actually very, very, very good friends with. And we've known each other for a very long time. Um, I think Mike Holmes' mentality and how he spoke in those shows growing up resonated with me. Build it better, make it right, uh, h- be genuine, be authentic, be a professional, and do things right. Do it once, do it right, measure twice, cut once. All these little things were embedded into me over those years. And also working with many great builders and contractors throughout my career of guys who went above and beyond code, right? Always wanting to do the right thing, to stand up to be professional and be proud of the work you do. You would never hear these guys focus on the bottom line. They would say, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, we're losing money, blah, blah, blah. I never remember hearing that. I have worked with builders in recent years who are like that. And it makes my skin crawl, right? Like building code is the bare minimum of what you should do. It's the bare basic model of a home. I don't believe in bare minimum. I believe in being maximum, being the best you can be. And whether that is, putting resisto or blue skin or whatever material you use from your footings all the way up, dimple board, all that kind of stuff, right? In code, it says, you must have uh, waterproof membranes. If your grade is above your basement floor, it must go up above that. It doesn't specify down. So a lot of these builders will be like, well, if the code says that, don't worry about it, right? Water is a house's worst enemy. You want to do everything in your power to make sure water does not penetrate, does not come near. You want it to push away. This is why we put weepers in. This is why we put sump pumps in. So I'm a firm believer in putting that waterproof membrane from the footing all the way up. Nailing patterns, doing different types of nailing patterns to ensure that we go above and beyond to ensure that the structure is sound. The old term glue it and screw it, PL premium, it's like on everything. And, much like Mike Holmes said, I would hate to take my own work apart. And that's how I feel. And that's what I teach my guys. And I have never been so proud of the guys I've worked with over my entire career than some of these new guys. And over the past few years, I was starting to get very concerned about uh, the future of our industry. It seemed a lot of guys were coming and going, or they'd be like, I'm not working for, this hard for that amount of money, or I don't want to get my nails dirty, whatever. It didn't look good. But in the past 3 to 5 years, I've seen a turnaround. There are guys showing up who want to learn. And a lot of these builders come across as authoritarians, and they're just like, get in there, get it done, let's go, meet the quota, meet the budget, all that kind of stuff. Where I come into the picture, I'm like, okay, guys, we have to care about the work we do, right? We're all about quality. We want to serve these customers in the best interest we can. So we're going to go above and beyond to ensure that their home is safe, it's protected, and that they don't have any problems in the future. And one of the analogies I use with my guys is that, in Ontario, we have the home warranty program called Tarion, and there's the 2357 rule. And throughout those 7 years, one of the main things is, like anything, it goes from materials to structure. And you don't want to get a phone call ever from Terrion saying, hey, you built this house, they have a water leak, or they have moisture wicking inside their window, they have structural issues, etc. And I always tell my guys, Terrion is like the CAS, the Children's Aid Society. You don't want them coming in your life, right? Terrion's there to help, but you want to call them for help. You don't want to have them call you saying, we have a problem. So this is why I always teach my guys, we need to go above and beyond code to ensure that our product is safe, it's sound, and that it never fails. And I'm not saying failure will never or will never happen. There is going to be problems, and you got to be quick to figure out how to fix those. But I'm confident that I can walk away from every single job we do and be proud of it. And that's what I teach the guys that work with me, because the builders nowadays, in recent years, earlier in my career, they were phenomenal. But a lot of the builders I work with these days, all they care about is their bottom line. You know, we get houses done in a year and a half. Let's try to do it in 12 months, right? Let's scale back, right? Don't worry about putting that product in because no inspector's going to see it. No one will notice. You probably never have a leak, whatever. Um, it, it bugs me. And I'm not one to cut corners. I'm not one to Mickey Mouse stuff. And yeah, so that's the principle and the mindset I have with Construction X and steel structure homes, is that we are a premium builder building with premium products who goes above and beyond code to ensure that your house is safe and sound.
Hmm. That's a great mentality to have. Sounds like a great company culture as well. Oh, that's
You have to separate yourself from the rest. And you know, I'm a very bluntly honest and transparent person. And like I said, I tell customers things they don't want to hear. And if you're gonna hate me for a couple days, so be it. But at the end of the day, um, they will always respect me and love me. And almost any customer I've ever built a home for, I'm still in contact with them. And actually, the couple who I just finished the last bone structure house for, we get together for dinner every 2 weeks. Like they are the sweetest, most lovely couple. They're, I guess, in their late 60s, early 70s, up in Fenelon Falls. It was an 8,700 square foot bone structure home built right on Balsam Lake. House has been in the property has been in the family for, at least 80 years. And the house we built was a multi-generational home. And that's a big thing that I'm going to start pushing soon, is multi-generational homes, because you yourself as a European, and from that area, know that multi-generational homes is normal out there. Here, not so much. And I think, especially in today's society, that could be a good thing. And so those people, again, like I said, are the most wonderful people. And, we had moments then we're gonna have this happen next week. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, we'll see how it goes, right? Like, I don't like putting deadlines on things, because once guys start putting deadlines on things, or builders start putting deadlines on things, uh guys start getting anxious, right? They start rushing. Oh my God, oh my God, I'm gonna get yelled at, I'm gonna get fired, whatever. So they start cutting corners, right? I'm just like, okay, throw the piece of drywall up, put two screws in it, mud it, and good. uh you know and it sickens me that these builders out there are willing to do this, because they're chasing the almighty buck. They care more about their bottom dollar than they do about providing a good service. Like, I treat every single home I build as if it was my own. And like I said, every one of these people stay in contact with me. And I've asked them, I'm like, hey, do you still talk to so and so company? Like, no. One of them's even taken them to court because they had financial issues, because the customer decided, I'm going to go over all my invoices and, blah, blah, blah. And they were overcharging them by a lot of stuff. But, you know, um, I just wish that guys in our industry cared more about what they did, instead of just chasing a buck. And because they're the ones who give our industry a bad name, and it is unfortunate.
Yeah, well, the irony is that's not how you make money in any industry. You
Hmm.
make money by providing value, being the best, like you've been describing.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
no, I think that wraps things up. This was great, Chad. It was awesome
Yeah.
hearing your story. Thanks so much for coming on Behind the Build. I think there's a lot of builders and people interested in the industry generally that are going to get a lot of value from your story
Yeah, I hope so.
and hearing your perspective. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for
where
sure.
can people reach you if someone's more interested in steel structure homes, or they'd like to get in contact with you?
Yeah. Um, so for steel structure homes, our website is steelstructurehomes.ca. There is a ton of information on there about our business, our processes. We have articles that talk about our pricing model. We're very transparent about how we price, about the manufacturing, the engineering, everything. We have dozens of articles in there about the industry and how we operate. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. I want to say we're on YouTube, but we haven't made any content yet. I've been trying to pull the trigger on doing vlogging. I just haven't wrapped my head around how I want to do it yet. And then with Construction X, you can find us at constructionx.ca. Same thing, like I said, it's a multi-material builder company. We do everything from affordable homes to ADUs to bunk houses, garages, to full-size luxury homes with any materials. Doesn't matter. Um, you can that company. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, eventually, YouTube. Once we start vlogging with that. Oh, and I should also mention both companies are on LinkedIn as well.